Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Isabell's Dream, and today I wanted to do a video about books again because if I'm in front of my bookshelf, it's gonna be about books. So I'm actually gonna be talking about memoirs today because I don't hear enough about memoirs on like TikTok, YouTube, anything. People don't really talk about them or they don't read them. And I just finished a really good memoir and I want to talk about them because I've read enough to like know what I like, know how to get into it. So hopefully this video is helpful for you guys who want to read memoirs but don't know how to start it. And I feel like it's like, at least for me, it can be really ominous. Like memoirs or autobiographies, I'm like that sounds so boring, I don't want to read it, I don't know where to start, but I'm gonna tell you how to start it.
Hey, it's me.
And sorry, I'm clearly outside my window, so if you hear noises, it ain't me. It ain't me. Okay, so the first thing I want to start off with is like, where do you start to get to like slightly dive into the world? And I'm definitely going to show you guys some books that you probably have seen before and some books that you haven't heard before, so I hope it helps your mind. I'm gonna start off with Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert. And this one is kind of like a fiction novel, but also it's based off the author's life and everything she's been through. But like she writes it as if it's like a fictional, like a adventure kind of thing. She divorces her husband and she doesn't know what to do with her life anymore. She isn't passionate about anything, and she wants to get that passion back. She is also a travel writer, so she used to travel in all these places, and she decides she's going to take a year off from work and her whole life in America and travel to 3 countries. Her first country is going to be Italy to learn to love herself again, which is just like pleasure in Italy, how she puts it. And then she learns like peace and faith in India, just to find inner peace within herself. And then she goes to the island of Bali, where she learned how to love again after her divorce. So it's a really good story to read. It's super easy. I know like it's a mom book or whatever, but this is like you're tipping your toe in memoirs because they're written like a regular memoir or autobiography. If like, I don't know how to explain that correctly, but it's not so serious. There's really no traumatic events in here. There's also a movie starring, I'll put her name on the screen right here, some like famous actor, and I'll put the picture of like the movie poster. You've probably seen the movie before, but this is the book that it came from. And that's how I started, and that kind of made me realize like, oh, I like learning about it because she did go through, you know, struggles within herself. So I'm like, okay, well, let's see, what else do I like? Gilmore Girls is one of my favorite TV shows, and the main star, Lorelai Gilmore, is Lauren Graham, and she wrote kind of like a memoir called Talking as Fast as I Can about you know, her life when she was filming the show before she got into the acting world. And Gilmore Girls Year in the Life, which is like a reboot kind of, but not really, like an extra added edition like 10 years later or something after the show ended. And she just talks about like her life when she was filming the show, which is also a super easy read. No real traumatic events happen in this novel, or this memoir. And it just, I like, that's also part where you could start if you don't know how to get into the books, is just if like your favorite TV show or movie, if the main character has a memoir based on their life or about when they were filming the show, it's super easy to get into. You don't have to learn really any new characters if you're like really invested into the show. Like you already know a lot about the character, or not the person, not the character. You already know about the person if you like are super into it. Even if you're not, it's just fun to hear about what like the behind the scenes were. So that was just cool. It's just cute little memoirs, really quick and easy, not that long. Definitely suggest this if you like Gilmore Girls or any actor that has one. And talking about next actor, I'm gonna bring up I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jennette McCurdy, which is also another like memoir from an actor, and she talks about her life when she was filming the show, but a lot of it, that's not the main part. The main part of this book is about Gilmore Girls in the show. This one is just about her life since she started, even like before she got into the TV industry until like now, which is her writing just so amazing, really, really detailed. The way she writes it isn't boring. It's really interesting about her life and how her thoughts and everything. And I know a lot of people have talked about this book, but if you haven't, I definitely suggest it. It's Jennette McCurdy. I'm glad my mom died. She is the main star on iCarly with Carly and Freddie. She's the blonde girl, the troublemaker, and then also Sam and Cat, starring Ariana Grande. They're both Disney shows, and she talks about the Disney, is it a producer, director, or like creator? The creator. Yes, he's known as the creator. It's really good. This has some like trigger warnings and trauma, not dumps in here, but just things that you have to like realize if you're not comfortable with the reading. So definitely look those up. This one I don't believe has any, but I would still look it up. This is so much lighter, based off like an actor. This one is definitely a little darker, but I definitely recommend reading this. I read this in maybe a couple days, and it's not huge, but it's definitely like a lot of words. Just the cover is beautiful too. Please read this. If anything you take out of this video, read this book. And branching out of, you know, the TV shows, maybe there are other celebrities that you want to read about. I suggest Emily Ratajkowski. I don't know how to say her name. Ratajkowski, I don't know, My Body. She is a model, mostly a model, and sometimes an actress in a lot of movies that you know. I know she was the side chick in Gone Girl. I forgot the main guy's name, but she's a side chick, and she also models for a bunch of like high-end brands. And for this one, she just talks about her life when she was modeling, how she got into it, how she felt. And it's a very like feminist perspective, but it's not shoved into your face too much where you're like, oh my god, this is just like, I can't stand how much she talks about it. But there's a very heavy underlying feeling of, she just talks about like her how she feels like her body is an object, and she uses that to control her career. And it's really interesting to hear, and she'll go into more detail if you read the book. Yeah, it's really interesting to hear how she uses her body and her femininity to rise in the levels of entertainment. So this is really good too. It's super easy read, and there are some trigger warnings, but definitely not as heavy as I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jennette McCurdy. Those would be the super easy memoirs. I'd recommend like getting into it. But once you're into it a little bit, they're definitely more serious and like, yeah, like more serious books you can get into. And I'm gonna show you one of them, which love her, but the book I didn't really enjoy. And then one that was, I didn't know who she was like before. I knew all these people before, except Eat Pray Love, but that was more like a fiction novel. Like I knew the people before I read it, and this person I didn't know, but it was an amazing and captivating story. So I will start with one last person that you guys definitely know is Michelle Obama, and this is her autobiography, Becoming. And this just talks about, she just writes about her whole life since she was basically conscious and when she was a little girl, and to like recent years. But I know she wrote a second one, probably talking about from when this ended to then, because I believe this ended right as Donald Trump went into presidency. So that same year, I think that's when this book ended. I definitely love Michelle Obama. She is an amazing woman. It's just her writing is catered for women her own age. I read this when I was a little bit younger, so I wasn't too into all of these memoirs and autobiographies. If you want to read about her, definitely pick this book, just because she wrote it herself, and like support her by picking this instead of someone else writing about her life. Writing wise, she's very eloquent when she writes, so it's a little bit difficult to be interested, because a lot of the topics are also about political, like what was happening during political times with Barack Obama. And side note, if you guys didn't know who she is Barack Obama, our former president's wife, so like the first lady, for 2 terms. I don't know exactly the year. I'm not that intelligent for that. I would like to say Barack Obama is the 44th president, so ignore that I ever said that. Thanks. But yeah, I don't totally recommend this if you want an easy read or a fun read. It was really boring. It took me like months to read this. I had to stop multiple times. But yeah, that's like an autobiography, like serious, like what you probably wouldn't want to start with, but once you're into it, you might enjoy it. Okay, and then last but not least, I actually finished this book today, which kind of inspired me to make this video because I think it's super important to have these stories be shared. So the next one I'm going to talk about is In Order to Live by Yeonmi Park. This is, I think, one of the best memoirs I've ever read. It is so inspiring and just interesting and shocking, and I think it's really important for people to read. When you're anyone who can read, they should read this novel if they want to learn about North Korea, which I will explain who she is and what the story is about. So this is Yeonmi Park. She is a young woman who escaped North Korea when she was a teenager, and she lives to tell the story of how everything happened and how everything went down. And there's a lot of trigger warnings in here, so if you are not comfortable with that, then I would not recommend this book. But it is a definitely important story to read. You need to, I think everyone should read this. I mean, it shows how, you know, the country I live in, I can't complain anymore. You know, there's so many other places that have way worse than I am, and it makes me appreciate life a little bit more. Her escaping North Korea to China, where she was sold, and then she escaped again to South Korea, where she was able to figure out what freedom was, because freedom is not even a word in North Korea. In their language, they do not know what that is. They don't know what love is. Yeonmi says that North Korea today is how it was in the 50s and 60s when North and South Korea were one country called Chosun, and it still stays like that. It hasn't changed, and it was a shocking story. Definitely important to read it. Please do. This is definitely something you should probably get into if you're not used to memoirs. Probably like start off with something easier and then get into this, because it is definitely harrowing and like eye-opening to you as a reader. Those are all the books today that I want to recommend to you guys. I hope it helps you all that want to start reading memoirs and get into a world of learning more than just your life. And I really enjoy reading memoirs, learning about people's lives, the struggles they went through and how they overcame them, and it like inspires me to overcome a struggle that I may have. And I think it's really brave that these people just wrote down their whole life on these books, or a part of their life, to convey a message, to tell a story, to share their struggles. And I appreciate that, and I want to read more. And I really love memoirs. I haven't read that many, but I want to read so many more about people I don't know, people I do know. And I just want to share with you guys what books I think you should get started with, because I think it's a really important book genre that people need to talk about more and start reading more. Super dear to my heart, and I wish to bring another video so I can read more memoirs and autobiographies and tell you guys about them. Okay, bye guys, thanks.